Brothers, in a recent speech, Pope Francis said, "We all know what the Lord asks of us. He asks us to turn again to the demanding task, a task that is ancient and yet ever new. The Pope implores us to seek out paths we need to take and the spirit with which we need to work." I believe we do recognize what the Lord asks of us, and we do need to seek out the paths we are to take. That's why I'm inviting you to gain a greater understanding of our sponsorship initiative. I admit that before I began my current role, I was a little fuzzy on the details of what sponsorship was all about. Maybe that's how it was for you too. The aim of sponsorship is, I believe, closely tied to our Marianist vow of stability. It's the courageous, ongoing Marian yes to do whatever he tells you. What does this mean? Well, first, we believe that the Marianist charism is a gift to the Church and the world, a gift that can be given at our universities, schools, and retreat centers. We know that we have fewer brothers to serve at these institutions, but we do have smart, committed lay people who are eager to be our partners in these vibrant ministries. And so sponsorship is not mainly a question of how many brothers or how many lay people are in our sponsored ministries. Rather, sponsorship is an expression of our vow of stability. As we say in our rule of life, it is a way of consecrating our energies to the formation of others in faith. As Blessed Father Chaminade insisted, we must be open to adaptation and change as we continue our mission, as we continue to say yes. From a nuts and bolts point of view, sponsorship is the name we give to the relationships, structures, and processes that enable us to continue to share the Marianist charism at our educational institutions and retreat centers. Let's delve a little deeper and look at 5 supporting ideas, one at a time. To begin, a document commissioned by Pope Paul VI included an important reflection on the theology of charism that I think is valuable in this conversation. It says that the very charism of a founder is an experience of the Spirit, transmitted to their disciples to be lived, safeguarded, deepened, and constantly developed in harmony with the body of Christ, continually in the process of growth. We're not starting from scratch with sponsorship. We have been doing excellent ministry in schools and retreat centers and other ministries for 2 centuries. And many of us personally have been in these ministries for decades. As men who have vowed to persevere in doing whatever he tells us, we strive to live and constantly develop the Marianist charism. My second main point is connected. The religious landscape of today mirrors precisely why the Society of Mary came into being: formation and faith of the religiously indifferent. Within the past decade, the number of religiously unaffiliated has increased from 19 to 23% of the U.S. population. Consider that only 5% of Catholics who didn't attend Catholic school go to Sunday Mass. But of those who went to a Catholic grade school, 34% go to Mass. And for those who went to a Catholic high school, 39% regularly attend Sunday Mass. These figures point to the importance of Catholic education. As Chaminade envisioned, Catholic schools remain one of the best tools for formation in faith. And so Catholic schools, Marianist Catholic schools, and retreat centers matter. They matter in today's religious landscape. That's why we need to persevere and be creative in continuing these ministries. I imagine that in the time of the early Christians, some believed that once the last of Christ's apostles died, it would be all over. Well, it wasn't over for them, and it's not going to be over for us. You may ask yourself, but where do I fit in? What's my role in all this? This brings me to my third point. In the big picture, our role as Marianist religious is 2-pronged: witness and service. The purpose is not survival, but mission. Right now, we have many brothers, including all of our temporary professed, who are ministering in educational institutions. Many others serve on boards or in lay formation. Still others are campus ministers or Marianist elders. Do we wish there were more brothers? Of course. But this leads me to my fourth point. The Marianist charism has attracted many who have been significantly touched by the Marianist approach to ministry. The Second Vatican Council calls them to holiness and ministry, the apostolate of the laity. It is a privilege and an obligation to enable them to fulfill this call grounded in their baptism. We would not want to limit the scope of our educational and retreat center ministry to what we could staff with vowed religious. That would not be consistent with the vision of Chaminade or the expectations of the Church. Times have changed. I'm confident we are smart, imaginative, and faithful enough to change with them. This brings me to my fifth and final point. Sponsorship is a part of a process of change. We live into it. And like giving birth, as Mary did, it takes time. We have choices. We can wring our hands and complain that there is no wine, or in our case, no brothers, or we can do what Mary did, confront Jesus and engage others to remedy the situation. Will we get this right? Is sponsorship going to work? I can't guarantee it. But let's give ourselves credit for our good track record of adaptation. In our history, we've moved, for example, from primary education to high schools and universities, and we've achieved this in many countries. We don't know what the future will bring, but let's not give up because of a lack of Marianist imagination. I doubt Father Chaminade and the First Brothers were certain of what they were doing, but they had faith in God, so they moved forward. Every day, we're writing the next chapter of our Marianist story. Sponsorship is a well-reasoned Marianist approach to the situation we face. And so, as our vow of stability demands, we say yes, and yes again, and yes again. We align ourselves with a woman who changed history because she knew in whom she placed her trust. I encourage you to support the office of sponsorship in your actions, your words, and your prayers. If you have suggestions or questions, please contact me. Brothers, we can count on each other. We write this chapter together. Let's make it worthy of the woman who inspires us. Thank you.